Hello everybody folks, and welcome to something that that comes up very regularly here, that I kind of wanted to cover real quick. Namely, how exactly do you play the Ogre series on modern / semi-modern systems here? Because people ask this stuff all the dang time, and, well, frankly, it's understandable to be confused, because, quite frankly, this series has gone on so many different systems, and to get one device that's able to play all of them is kind of ridiculous. Now, to date, there's two portable devices that can essentially do all of the series well. Okay, you got the PS Vita and you got Android. Most people are going to have Android. If you're on an iPhone, I'm sorry, I don't believe your emulation options are that great. However, on the Android side of things, usually there's two things that come up. Either A, help, I turned on PPSSPP and it runs slow randomly, which, yeah, that's a bit of an annoyance. But here's the thing: there's a better version, because A, PPSSPP tends to have issues when it comes to playing this game in particular, and RetroArch / whatever you want to call that dang thing is ridiculously confusing. If you've never tried RetroArch, basically it is the equivalent of like building your own computer, where technically you can do anything and it can do it well, but I hope you're ready to do some tweaking, because you're going to be there fiddling with settings far more than you're going to be playing. Personally, I don't like it, but I prefer emulators that just work out of the box and you just have to deal with finding a system that can make them run. Again, to each their own. Tweaking is fun. I just know that when there's the option for tweaking, I find myself actually sitting there and tweaking every little detail and never actually playing the dang thing. So, alright, so what I want to introduce here is something called Lemeroid. Basically, it's just like RetroArch, and it's technically running PPSSPP, I believe, but all of that stuff just works out of the box. You don't have to tweak anything, you don't have to do anything. It works, as far as I've been able to tell on my phone, it works perfectly fine. I'm not seeing any slowdown. I haven't seen anything aside from like the main menu having some minor slowdown. But as far as that goes, that version is excellent. By the way, I should point out, I apologize for the atrocious camera quality here. I'm just kind of working with the best angle I've got here, because I tried using my phone, it just wasn't happening. Any dangways, what I actually recommend, like cost effectiveness wise, is going to be the PS Vita. Now, I don't expect everyone to have one of these laying around, but if you don't want to use your phone, like personally, I don't like using my phone for any kind of emulation type stuff for the most part, aside from like Game Boy games and things, simply because it is, it's something I need every day for all kinds of different stuff. I don't want to burn the battery. Usually, even without any kind of games on there, I'll usually end up, down to about 10% at the end of the day. So there's that. Now, that being said, a PS Vita, very lightweight. You can get them for about $70-$80 on eBay. Look for an Asian model. Like, usually what I recommend is getting one that you're gonna hack. Yeah, there's stuff that can go wrong with hacking them. It can occasionally be a little bit complicated, but honestly, it's worth the effort. As far as hacks go, I will say the Vita, I've hacked 3 separate Vitas before, and it was way less complicated than hacking the old 3DS here. But again, do with that as you will. But cost effectiveness-wise, you're looking like $70-$80 on a thing that gets, potentially, if you're playing the Ogre series and stuff like that, you're getting like 10+ hours of battery life on there. Emulator-wise, you basically just set it up to run PSP stuff. Tactics Ogre PSP, it just runs natively. It runs just fine. It's what I always stream off of here. I know it's kind of got some glare to it here. I apologize. Like I said, the camera work here is a little bit scuffy, but it is what it is. So, plays absolutely beautifully, looks beautifully. You can technically output video, and when it comes to the other stuff, you've got some other emulator options here as well. So, when you're looking at PSP emulator type of deals on it, what you want, and it's funny because you can actually just basically play the PSP here. As you can see, you have to use a circle to select things, so funnily enough, it's actually still kind of in Asian mode here. But as far as emulators go, we don't really need GBA stuff. Now, GPSP works, however, there's another one here, if I can find it real quick. The PS1 ones, by the way, like Ogre Battle, it plays it natively. Where's the other one here? For Tactics Ogre Original, it plays it natively. So, PS1 games, it'll work just fine. When it comes to SNES, it's not amazing, but it does work pretty darn well, though personally I believe the PS1 versions are just better. If you really need to play Prince of Zenobia, there's emulators for that as well. It works fine. No real complaints there. But this one right here, Temp GBA, is the one that I recommend for playing Knight of Lotus. But it ends up running it perfectly fine. But you might be saying, how exactly do I get my original cart on there? Like, if we take a look right here, this thing doesn't quite fit in here. Like, it can't fit in the hole. It doesn't quite get in there. So what we do is actually surprisingly ingenious. First of all, I will say original hardware will always kind of win out, just because you can't really you can't really reload your Vita there. But this next step will actually apply to anyone that wanted to get a legit copy of Knight of Lotus or whatever else, onto other systems. So there's these things. You can get them for pretty cheap. These R4 chips. Just like shove a little SD card in there. But basically the deal with these things is they're there to allow you to transfer your... well, technically you can use them for making your DS games all fit on one thing. But what you do is you actually... You pull this thing up, you do all its installation type nonsense. It very slowly loads up. Sorry, this original screen is very jacked up, as you may be able to tell. We're like running pure 2000s territory here, as far as visual quality. But yeah, so there's a GBA backup tool, and basically all you do is like it asks you to pick a slot, and then you pick a slot, and then it's like, oh, would you like to back up your Tactics Ogre? And boy, you cannot read that at all. Good lord. I apologize. This is painfully hard to read, but anyway. So, yeah, you can just back that stuff up on there. You can actually put saves back on this if you want, so that's pretty neat. But from there, it just saves it to the SD, and at that point, you just put the SD card into your computer, and you have your ROM and you have your save. Your .gba is your ROM, your .sav is your save file. Keep the two together, you stick them in an emulator, it just works now. Most of them will use that same format. So that's kind of neat, you can just keep your old stuff running to this day. It's pretty fantastic. Though I will say a bit of a side note here. This thing actually came with a busted up hinge. This is actually a replacement one. Turns out you can actually fix these with a pen cap and some super glue. So yeah, just kind of like bent a pen cap into place and glued it in there, and yeah, it does the job just fine. Neither here nor there, just kind of found it interesting. But point is, you can actually put them onto a 3DS. But the reason that I found this kind of cool is because, okay, the Vita, you put it on your Temp GBA. On your phone, you put it on whatever emulator you prefer there, whether you prefer like a Classic Boy or whatever else. But what I found really cool is that you could do something like this here. It turns out that, you know how the 3DS has a virtual injector kind of thing? So if you mod your 3DS, you can actually do a thing where you put your... you can actually take your original ROMs. I mean, you can't transfer the saves as far as I'm aware, but there's actually a Game Boy mode on your 3DS. Hi there. How's it going? Looking real scuffed in this reflection here. Anyway, so yeah, it actually looks really, really good on this. But the reason that I bring this up, why I bring up playing it this way, is because the overall visual quality and everything else, like this, technically looks a whole lot better on the 3DS than most other emulation options. So I just thought that was really cool. I never really knew you could do that up until today, shockingly. So anyway, that's kind of neither here nor there. And also it shows up on the home screen of your 3DS, and these things are just fun little devices. They're really, really portable. Yes, I apparently just ghetto rig all of my stuff. Just don't question it. I put a little electrical tape on there so it's easier to pull out. Highly recommended, by the way. Don't have to deal with a little nub thing. If you're doing some like Resident Evil DS or something, you can just be like whoosh, and then it pops out. Anyway, so point being that yes, you can still transfer your original saves over. If you're wondering about PSP, if you've got your old disc options, actually all you need is a hacked PSP itself over there. Once you mod the thing, they just have an option to hold select on your kind of main menu thing there, like your XMB, and it'll say how would you like your storage to be handled, and there's an option for having your USB device as your disk drive. At which point, you hook it up to your computer, and you tell the two to talk, and it'll be like, hey, I'm gonna read the disk, and then you can transfer the entire disk over to your PC and do with it as you will. Now, the legality of all these things is all over the place, let's be blunt. I mean, but here's the thing. Some of this stuff did get official re-releases. Like, you know what, your old Zelda Game Boy games, yeah, that got a version. Do you think anyone's ever going to worry about a re-release of Jagged Alliance on the DS? No, they certainly won't. Like, I'm pretty sure half the stuff here, like, isn't even, like, okay, let's see. Ultimate Board Game Collection, that had a digital version for some reason. Killzone, I think, did. Assassin's Creed is whatever, that one played kind of weird. Daxter, I think, did. Worms Open Warfare 2, fantastic game. I don't think anyone's actually giving that a digital version. Armored Core, Formula Front, I'm pretty sure nobody bought that new. Twisted Metal Head-On. Like, this is a perfect example, I think, of why you want to be able to have the option to back up your stuff here. And, I mean, this is a case that's been made a million times by a million different people, but, like, okay, I got a physical version, right? I have the digital version because I couldn't find the physical version one day. It turned out my brother had it, but whatever. But all the same, despite having both those versions, in order to get it to play on the PS Vita, I still had to use a workaround, because technically speaking, I can't access the digital version on the Vita because it requires a PS3 to be transferred over, and it can't read the physical version, meaning that the physical version has to be dumped to a PSP and then transferred over to a computer to be then put on the PS Vita there. So that is a like neck-shattering level of like whiplash bullshit to go through. So I'd rather not. But anyway, I mean, yes, there are technically certainly other ways to acquire these things online in ways that shall not be mentioned, but you know, it feels good to have the original version, and also, you know, technically you can have it in the back of your head that you're slightly supporting somebody, maybe, but also, you know what, it's like it still cracks me up that this thing, through all of its use, still holds up better than, like, my original copy of FFTA got run over by a car when I was a kid. Like, it was one of these cases where it was the middle of the night. I forget what we were doing exactly, but basically my, I was going and I was putting something else in my Game Boy there, and funnily enough, I think it was Tactics Ogre, but yeah, I just hear a little clatter, and I don't really think much of it, and then as the car's pulling away, I just hear a crunch, and, well, no more FFTA nearly 100% save file, that's for sure. So that sucked. Though, funnily enough, yeah, this one that I got secondhand traded for a Switch game that I didn't want, like, came back all scuffed, it's all bent out of shape and whatever, but it still technically runs, so I don't care. Neither here nor there. So, alright, as far as other bits of the series, let's see, just kind of going down the list. Yeah, the SNES ones, you can get adapters to transfer your SNES games to a computer. Generally, most adapter types out there are like, you know, 30, 40 bucks. It sucks, but if you've got a collection of them, you know, you got that, and also there's a secondhand market for them, so you can probably technically transfer that stuff over for free, if you want to go about it that way. Like, I know the Game Boy one I've seen for like 27 bucks. But, you know, there's adapters for all this stuff. Some of them, like, for example, for GBA games and things like that, DS is by far the fastest and most cost-effective way to do that. For PSP games, they can just do that natively. If you have the digital version of, like, Tactics Ogre, for example, you can just, you know, you can just use that. That's one of those ones that thankfully did get saved and is able to fully be used on the PS Vita just out of the box. But yeah, that about covers it. So, in summary, if you're on Android, your simplest way, however you acquired your ROMs, I'm not going to ask any questions. Lemoroid is going to handle pretty much all of them right out of the box. If you're using a PS Vita, if you've gone through the hacking process, you want Temp GBA for your GBA ones. I forget the one for Game Gear because I'm not about to go back and look at Prince of Zenobia again. You got Daedalus X64, which I actually should mention real quick. For OB64, what you want to do, don't use the first version that you see. What you want to do for Daedalus is actually get the nightly version. I'll put the link on there again. The nightly version will update separately. It'll work separately from the normal version. it works. This version works. The other version has extreme slowdown when it comes to... I get on the reflection. The other version has extreme slowdown when it comes to the Vita. This version seems to work just fine. But yeah, you just kind of go to there, and then it runs. So that's dandy. What else? So yeah, it handles the PSP one natively, handles the PS1 versions natively. It doesn't handle Saturn particularly well, so that's a bit of a bummer. Also, I believe I actually screwed with the settings on the Vita, so now it's frozen. Great. Anywho, great presentation, top quality. Can't possibly knock it. On a PSP, most of the above works except for OB64 and the Saturn ports. But again, you still got most of the series. If you're on 3DS, if you've got a new 3DS, you can actually access most of the series. So, like for example, right here, I technically made versions of March of the Black Queen and Tactics Ogre original there. They don't usually normally use these logos. I just kind of put it on there. So for those ones, and by the way, you may notice my screen is doing a little bit of flickering. This is a glitch that's happened with my particular unit since forever. But yeah, just so you know, for the SNES ones, they won't work unless you've got a new 3DS. But it can run those ones. You can make ROMs for them. But you do have Knight of Lotus at least on there, so that's something, you know. Funnily enough, some other GPA games don't work as well on this thing. Like for example, Fire Emblem does not work on this thing at all. It's a very very hit or miss on this thing. That's for sure. It is extremely hit or miss, but it's really nice to be able to play it on this console, you know. And it's kind of nice just seeing it there on the main menu. What else? Original 3DS surprisingly can, well, I mean, not even surprising, it just runs it natively. It's got a GBA slot. What were you expecting? I think that about covers what can be done there. I actually did see an option for putting Final Fantasy Tactics on a new 3DS, so I don't know how well that works, because I don't have one to test it, and I didn't have a BIOS laying around for that. But technically, that's an option as well. Okay, so I think that about sums up what you want to do there. Generally, as always, just get a Vita. These things are great. You can get these like little rubberized cases off of Wish. And what I actually do with mine is I have this it's like old camera bag kind of thing, and so I just kind of shove it in there with that rubberized case, and yeah, keeps it safe from everything. Has kept it from getting analog drift. So that's been fantastic. Just kind of put it in a little baggie, and there we go. You know what? Fits neatly in your pocket. Little bag. I think these camera bags are like $5 or something. Yeah, you can just easily slide this in or out of like a vest pocket, and yeah, it keeps it all padded, keeps it safe. Rubberized case keeps it from getting impact damage. It's good stuff. All right. Oh, last thing I meant to cover. Technically, the SNES ones as well, both SNES games as well as Knight of Lotus work great on the mini SNES. Fantastic for that. I let my kids try it out a little while ago. They were very confused, but they love the music. So, anyway, that'll be that. You guys have a good one. Take care. If you have any other emulation questions or, you know, whatever else, do let me know. And, yeah, I'll see you in the next one.